Well, at least we seem to have got so far this morning. Let's try this. Well, good morning. And talk about frustration. It was a very frustrating weekend in many, many ways. And that frustration has spilled over to Monday morning because I was very busy trying hard to find out what was going on in the world. And I realized that I was running over time a little bit. And I thought, why not broadcast from the home studio? Because it would be rather nice to do that. And so I prepared the computer and I got StreamYard, which is the streaming service we use to go out to Facebook and YouTube and so on and so forth. And we got it all set up, and then suddenly it asked for a password. So we found a password. That then triggered another password and another and another. And each stage of trying to get to this point wanted a password. And half of them, of course, didn't work. Well, why should they? I hadn't used this computer for a few days. Last night, I broadcast from here, and I broadcast on the phone, and everything worked within 2 minutes. This morning, it's taken 20. I really think that if the technology people are going to get money from the government to do some thinking, is why not a one-stop shop? You push one password and it lets you into absolutely everything that you need a password for. And that would make things much simpler and much easier instead of all this absolute obsession that everybody has. You have a password for each of the things that you do. And if you try to use the same password for several of them, it'll say, oh, you've used this password for something else. So now I just want to know. Must be exclusive. So anyway, you're looking at a very, very frustrated man this morning. A very frustrated man, and I do apologize. It is now, excuse me, 6 minutes to 8 o'clock. And I still haven't quite determined what the headlines are. So we'll try to find out what's going on in the news. But there were one or two things that I saw last night. And there's going to be a lot of this morning, and this is not going to be in any way a formal broadcast. I don't blame you if you want to stop watching. Let's see, March to Freedom and Return to the Great Outdoors. The Daily Telegraph is headlining, stay at home to be scrapped as the PM unveils the route to normality. He's going to do that later today, I think. 4 key stages in lifting COVID rules. Well, it's about time, but is it time enough? We personally at Mirador, partly the reason that you're getting a skimpy service like this is because even a tiny operation like us can't be run by one man. Well, it can, but no, it can't, because we were ambitious. We were broadcasting to the States. We were broadcasting to the world, broadcasting the country, as well as broadcasting to Lewis. It was a unique and quite different operation, but it can't happen with just one man. And that's what has happened now, is we're back to one man with some help from good friends. Paul Fowle is involved, is looking at a strategy for us to go forward, starting in March. Robert McDonald is looking at a strategy for appealing to people who would like to sponsor us. Viewing figures have plummeted, as one would expect they would. However, luckily, the base is still strong enough for us to rebuild. But we need a little bit of a boost of cash for that. And there was some chance that we might get some COVID cash, because we had we're one of the 3 million businesses that have actually fallen through the cracks. And it's all very well to say, but that's 3 million people. And probably out of those 3 million, we now have, like me, I'm a natural Tory. There's no sense in me pretending to be socialist in any way whatsoever. I respect their point of view. I respect them as an opposition. I respect debating with them, but I'm not. I'm a natural Tory. Well, I was, but not anymore. So I think that party has lost the plot. It's lost its way, and it's about time that it pulled itself back. Now, is that because of COVID? I have no idea. But I'm beginning to think that some of the people who are in their 40s and their 50s, not all, so be careful, don't bridle if I say, but I had some dealings with some 50, 55-year-olds over the weekend, and I found eventually they got down to the whole thing is, what about us? Is they're not a bit worried about what's happening to the country or what's happening to the future? Is what about us? Well, it's okay. Yeah, you can ask. But also, this pandemic has created remarkable conditions, and a lot of people have actually jumped and started to put up the flag, if you want to put it that way, and got themselves involved in helping people. I deal with this group in New York because they are run by people out of Lewis, believe it or not. Young people who need a bit of help, and it's terrific. I help with cancer research, and the wonderful Leslie Hills, who paints portraits for them and flogs them, and you can have one done if you want. And that £100, she doesn't keep a penny of it. She sends it off to cancer research. The food bank, and we've got some video of the last food bank on February the 14th. It's got so much Stephen and Kathleen unearthing stuff. We got so much coming in. Is who's left to edit it? Well, it's dear old me, who has to do the broadcasting, has to do the research, has to open up the studio, which I will do after this broadcast. I shall go over to get into more familiar surroundings, and perhaps we won't have quite so much fun. But the people who let 3 million of us fall through the cracks have no idea whatsoever what it's like to run a business. None. And they don't behave like that. They pen push. They're much more interested in whether they've got a dot covering the eye than they are about what they should be doing with their authority. I was going to say power, and it is power. All right, okay. School, sports, and social contact are going to be first, as the PM plans to lift lockdown. So watch out for that. If we can, we'll try to bring you Boris when he makes that announcement today. At least what we can do, if we can look in. Well, I think we can look in. Depends on how many people we've got. But anyway, there are going to be 4 tests, we will go the outdoor sport and rule of 6 in March. Right, your battery is running low. Why isn't why are we on the battery to begin with? Well, that's very typical of this morning. Very typical of this morning. Let's go and do some technical things, because we have to do that as well. If you want to see what a small business is like, it's getting itself sorted in the morning. This is it. Oh dear. Good job I got a sense of humour, isn't it? Oh, I haven't got a sense of humour sometimes. But right, the Daily Mail, a slow march to freedom. The first steps to freedom from lockdown will prioritise reopening schools and reuniting families. Well, there we are. That's perhaps something that we need to do, is to reunite families, because certainly people are getting very upset about being locked away. I'm lucky. I've got 1,000 friends. My inbox is never empty. On Messenger, I get all sorts of people from all over the world. All I've got to do is to say something on one of these social media things, and I immediately get half a dozen people immediately react. So, no, I've been lucky. I've been working, if you like, but working without any sort of revenue, and impossible to get it. So I needed a little bit of help from the government. And is it there? Well, maybe is the answer, but it's been a maybe for a month. And has it ever occurred to people that in a month all sorts of things can happen in a small business? So hopefully we're going to fight it through. And I'm not feeling a bit sorry for myself, because even if we have to cut back, which we have already, we will still be a thorn in the flesh of the government, because we have got governments at all levels who have forgotten why they're there. They're there because they are to serve people. They're not in the sense that servants bridle about the fact that we use the word to serve, but you've got to look after your communities. You've got to look after your people. You've got to look after the voters. And while you've spread largesse amongst an awful lot of people who immediately take advantage, you've allowed some people who are the drivers of the economy. I don't know whether anybody realizes, but across the European Union, when we were members of the European Union, and it hasn't changed since, is 82% of businesses in the EU were SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises, 82%. And so who do we go after? We go after the big boys. We give them the cash and we say, get on with it, chaps. And we forget the little guy. Well, I think the country is really going to suffer because they've forgotten the little guy. And it's a great pity. And it's not too late for them to get their act together. But will they? No. Because I'm sorry, but this cabinet has come over as rather arrogant people. I'm the last person in the world to talk about arrogance or elitism or whatever. God, I enjoy enough of the fruits of them. And I'm privileged to be able to talk to people who are at the heart of government, at the heart of our society, at the heart of law, at the heart of diplomacy. I am privileged, and to be able to do it in a private environment where I can chat to these people. And I can have one-on-one. A lot of people don't have that, and I do, and I am lucky. But the fact of the matter is that as a conglomerate, if you like, they've lost the plot, and it's about time that they got the plot back. Boris will take it one careful step at a time. Well, I mean, that's the right way to do it, is a march to freedom. My good friend Clive Shorthouse, who lives in New Haven, and Clive and I agree about a lot of things, and we like to have little chats, and we like to test our views about what's going on in our country and our government. And Clive and I have diverged a little bit, because I have lost a little bit of faith in the government. I've lost faith in government at all levels, some at the top and a lot at the bottom. But he believes that the government has done as best it can under very difficult circumstances. Now, that's a good wide range of opinion. There's no right or wrong. He's not right and I'm wrong, or vice versa. It is a conglomeration of ideas and thoughts, and I'm lucky to be able to indulge in that with people at all levels. And I've missed being able to do that. So when lockdown ends, or as it starts to slowly lift, I hope that I can get back to that. But I'm also going to have to worry about the economy of my own business and get it back. And believe me, the banks and the credit card companies and all the people that are willing to lend you money when times are tough, and the hope that they'll get better is from almost day one. They don't leave you alone. They've got no idea whatsoever what their constituency is all about. None whatsoever. It's not just a question of moving ATM machines away from villages and closing branches and so on and so forth. And perhaps that's one thing they've got to have to rethink now that we've gone through this sort of thing. You can't ask people to lock away in a village and not give them the facilities. I will give you an example of the sort of nonsense that I've been on about for so many months and so many years. Is the reliance upon computers is crazy. It is crazy. And until the banks and other financial institutions get some sort of reform, then it's going to get crazier still. Into my inbox came the other day a little alert. If you don't put some money in by 2:30, you'll go into an unarranged overdraft, and we'll bounce some of your standing orders. Okay, right. So I went and I got some money, and I was going into the bank so I could put it into the machine and into my way that I do it all the time. And I get there and there's a note on the door. oh, we've had a case of COVID in this branch, so we've closed. And it was closed for 3 days. You couldn't get in to use the machine to put money into your account. Did they actually? Did the computer say, oh, tut, 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 I'm terribly sorry, we're letting you down? Did it, heck? It bounced the checks. And is there any apology? No. Now, we can't have entities like that in our midst. We can't have rules for the financial institutions and the rest of us. We've got to start to bring some things into line. And some of the experiences that we've had because of COVID, if we want to learn anything from this, then we should actually find out little things that have happened to various people. And then we can get on with trying to put some things right in our society. Until we know what's wrong, we can't put things right. And there doesn't seem much effort being made at any level to find out some of the things that have gone wrong. Well, it's a great a pity, really. But anyway, a couple of things that Nicola Sturgeon has been on trying hard to make life difficult for Boris by continuing to urge that Scotland should become independent, have another independent referendum, even though it was only, 6 years ago that we had the last one. And there's been a big hassle at the top, but she suffered a blow this week when I think it was the London School of Economics said, yeah, you go, and what you'll find is that your country will be much poorer. But that hasn't stopped them. What they do is they then we'll have a think tank, and they come out and they say the figures are misinterpreted. You know, when I worked in media in North America, it was very fierce and very competitive. And the salespeople always had problems the day that the ratings came out. And they would scour through the ratings, and suddenly somebody would say something like, oh, well, look at this, we're number one. And everybody would look at it and say, in mothers with babies who smoke cigars. In other words, this is the most esoteric group that you could possibly find in any of the ratings scenarios. And it is a bit like that with politicians, is they keep on looking until they find something obscure that bolsters what they said in the first place, even though all the evidence is against it. And the EU is basically, I know the EU is in problems too. I mean, it has got a deficit of billions of euros. And I'm not a bit surprised. In many ways, it can't get its book signed off. So it doesn't want another albatross around its neck. It doesn't want to take on poorer people, only richer people, and it's lost one. And one or two more being threatened to leave if things don't improve. But, you know, Brussels is a country unto itself. Well. Oh, another thing about lockdown, by the way, is, you know, you can't get your hair cut either. So you get a very shaggy dog. I had several ladies of whom I have acquaintance and whom I like, and we have a great laugh together. And what they really said was, you know, Keith, you're not looking so great nowadays. So I took it on the chin. All right, I'm not looking so great, but I'm still the same cheerful chap. But what I said was, I'm trying hard to get the Spencer Tracy look. Those of you who are Spencer Tracy fans will remember him from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, when he plays the avuncular editor of a very liberal family, and her daughter comes home and announces that she's going to marry Sidney Poitier. So in those days, the days when it was set in the 1960s, 1970s, is a mixed marriage of that sort was anathema to most of society. Totally different today, of course. But he plays that, and he does look very, very ruggedly handsome. Well, I've got the rugged look. I'm trying hard now to see if I can make it the ruggedly handsome look. See if I can get the affection of some of these ladies back. I actually will run out of years before I manage that. But what the hell? All these things come up with COVID. Oh dear. You know, let's just let's just go and I think that we need to do away with me for a moment or two. I've splattered on, mainly because I've had to this morning. But let's remind ourselves about Jane, shall we?
Hi, I'm Jane at Mirador Television, and I love to recycle, upcycle, renovate, decorate, paint, and if I can find any old junk, I'm happy to turn it into something else. So in the next few months, I'm going to give you some ideas and show you what I'm up to at home, from turning tins into bins, making garden cushions, and my recent find was a Lloyd Loom ottoman, which has a wonky leg, but I'm going to try and renovate the leg and find some lovely fabrics. So lots going on. This week, I'm just going to show you a couple of old cot bumpers that I found hanging around the house from some time ago. And I thought, well, I don't want to waste the foam. I'll turn them into some seat cushions for the garden bench.
Wow, I just love Jane. She's got such an expressive face. When we chat, she says, my family is one that sees the glass half full. And that's me. Always see the glass half full. If you actually look at the negative side of things, then you'll come unstuck. You have to keep up your spirits. And if you get disappointments, yes, and there are lots of disappointments around at the moment, you get disappointments. But if you keep on looking at it, it's strange. I was discussing yesterday with somebody who has been caring for quite some time for somebody with Parkinson's, and they've deteriorated. I actually have Parkinson's, and nobody knows. The only thing that bothers me about it is that I occasionally lack judgment when I go to pick up a glass of wine and I knock the glass of wine over. And for me, that is the greatest sin, to knock wine over. You have to get on with it. And if in fact you laugh at things in the face for a long time, you can get away with it. Positive thinking, the glass half full, optimism is much better than the negative. And I have to say that probably today is going to be very, very exciting. Let's hope it's going to be exciting, because Boris is going to give us a timetable beginning this month for getting out of lockdown, of dealing with the pandemic. And perhaps at the stage we're at, with millions having been given the jab, with the rate of infection going down, with the mutants identified so that we can keep an eye on it, is perhaps we are beginning to win the war. And even though we've lost the odd battle here and there, and we've had casualties, we maybe are going to win the war. And while I've been critical of the government about a lot of things during this period, I must say that if they do come out smelling like a rose and we have a victory parade, then it would be very, very good to be able to rejoice and have a really good time. And it would be nice, wouldn't it, is if in fact what we could do is belly up to the bar in the pub. The pubs were having a bad time anyway, but bellying up to the bar in the pub, going in there on your own and seeing an empty pub, and within 10 minutes having 4 or 5 people that you're debating the issues of the day with. Those are the things that we miss in our society. That's what I've missed, and what I know a lot of other people miss, is talk. And it doesn't matter. You can say intelligent talk, as long as it's not stupid talk. But I don't care if somebody's got idiotic ideas. And I'm quite happy to have idiotic ideas myself, as long as people don't just walk away and say, oh, you're an idiot. Is debate and discussion and social intercourse is the key that to mankind. Womankind, if you want. Humankind is it is great to really see what we need. You need to look people in the eye when you're talking to them to get a feel for what's going on. This remoteness that we've had by doing it all through social, what do we call it, social networks and so on. So it's fine, but it's dispassionate. There isn't that urge to persuasion There's no intercourse. There's no. I can see from the look in your eyes just what you're thinking. All that has gone, has missed, and we're going to have to re-find it. Well, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Let's have a look. Let's push this and see what happens. Okay, well, the weather today is going to be relatively mild. We may see some rain, but the temperature will increase to about 14 or 15. And that's even lower than yesterday. So not quite as balmy as it is going to be. And I doubt if we're going to have the periods of sunshine, and certainly not early on, that we had yesterday. It was just a beautiful day yesterday, and one to be savoured and enjoyed if only we could go out. In fact, probably more people did go out, but where the hell did they go to? That's one of the things that you suddenly realise is, yes, you can go and walk in the park. But if you want to go and have a nice meal or whatever, if only at the end of all this we can afford it, that's what it's all about. What is the time, by the way? Oh, it's 18 minutes past 8. So I've been fluttering away. But those are the news headline things. So the news headlines that in front of me is Meghan hopes the Oprah interview will be the loudest way back, loudest way to get her voice back. But I don't quite understand. Why does she feel that she should have a voice? I mean, she's a film starlet. She's married a prince. She's managed to get him demoted. He'll always be a prince because he's a prince by birth. But all his royal baubles have been taken away. So I don't know why she wants to go on Oprah. Because most people in this country, I doubt, would see Oprah. Maybe you're wrong. Oprah, very interesting lady, and has done extremely well for herself. But I mean, I remember I was living in Canada, I think, when she first started quite some time ago, and she was just another talk show host. She's done very well. I'm not knocking it at all, and I've been a talk show host in the past, and it's actually a lot of fun. But the fact that you feel that you've got huge power, which you don't have, is one of the pitfalls. You have to really worry about it. All right, Boris wants to build a giant roundabout under the Isle of Man. I don't know what that story is all about, but that's got to be that's got to be a wonderful thing. The Isle of Man, I've flown over many a time, but I've never actually been to the Isle of Man, and I know people who are members of the House of Keys. I know somebody who bought and sold the Isle of Man light railway and made a fortune out of it. I've had a lot to do with the Isle of Man one way or another, and they actually have set up a independent broadcasting unit. So it's one of those things that we very much know about, but not having tasted. And of course, there's the Isle of Man TT races on motorbikes, which I remember as a child watching a George Formby movie in which he took part in that. But the Isle of Man, wonderful a place in many ways. But the fact is that Douglas, I think, isn't it, is the capital, Douglas Isle of Man. Thierry Charles drove 200 miles to see Philip, and Philip remains in hospital. It's not COVID related, so we're told. But what it is exactly, I have no idea. But Charles and his father have not always seen eye to eye. And the dear old Duke at 99 is just as crusty as he ever was. I can remember covering a royal tour on one occasion. And you are warned, you're given a briefing beforehand. You mustn't get too close, particularly with things like tape recorders and cameras, because there is a mystique about the royal family which they like to keep. For instance, they don't. Well, let's be polite. Their tummies don't rumble, do they? Yeah. And the way that they don't rumble is that they actually keep the microphones away. And it's the same when they drink. They drink at banquets and so on, and they drink fortified wines and that sort of thing. Mind you, they'll have a cocktail beforehand, but just so they don't have to go to the loo. And there is a lot of mystique there, which if you break it, you're in trouble. And I broke it. I got too close to Philip with a tape recorder, and he rounded on me and gave me short shrift, very crusty. But he is nobody's fool. He identified the people in the press group who he felt he'd got to keep an eye on, and he kept an eye on us, believe me. We didn't step out of the line too much. So not all has been copacetic, is that the word, between Charles and his father. But they obviously, their familial love has broken through. And I'm happy to say that that father and son at 99 and whatever Charles is now, 60 something, it was mended for at least 30 minutes in hospital. There's a nasty story where a trophy hunter poses with the heart of a giraffe she shot, and it cost her £1,500 to do it. Well, what goes through these people's minds? I mean, the fact is that they know very well, within their own set, I suppose, that they're able to strut around and say, yes, I'm a great hunter. But that's within your own set, darling. And generally speaking, you shoot wild animals nowadays, and most of the world thinks that you're an idiot. You don't get the accolades which you think you're getting. And you paid 1,500 quid for the privilege. Dearly me. Wales to fine parents £100 for smoking at school gates and in playgrounds. Matt Hancock rejects a call to vaccinate teachers before schools reopen. A Coke bottle full of urine has been sent out with Hello Fresh meal box. Oh dear, dear me. I mean, that really is one of the things that now I would actually cut their hands off. In fact, I'd cut something else off if I found out who was doing that sort of thing. That is just a non-starter, and particularly when it comes with the Hello Fresh meal box, which is sent in good faith and taken in good faith. Naughty. 1 in 3 UK adults vaccinated as the South African variant cases fall. Right, well, it looks as if we're beginning to get over that hump too. And the gang who stabbed a man to death are jailed for almost 100 years. Be good to 2 for the 5 of them in the picture. So that's 20 years each. And I'm not sure which story that is, and I'm not going to leave this page because I'll never get back to it if I do. Let's see. Oh, we've been going 33 minutes, 25 minutes, or at least it's 25 past 8. And pupils who have fallen behind will have to attend summer class catch-up classes. Well, that's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, I can remember even when I was a kid, the summer holidays were great, but on the rainy days, we pulled out the trains, and on the nice days, we went down to United States Cavalry to sort of round up the Indians. The kids don't do that anymore, so I guess that they get pretty bored. So going back to school isn't going to hurt one little bit. Though all kids will hate me for that. Oprah spent 2 days grilling Harry and Meghan for pure gold interview. Yeah, pure gold for Oprah. She will laugh all the way to the bank for that one, and in her wake will lie all sorts of wreckage for the royal family to try and mend. And it doesn't matter whether you actually like this royal family or don't like this royal family. And I must say some of the younger ones are behaving in a very strange way. But the fact is, it's our constitutional head, and I approve of it. I don't go along. I've lived in several countries, in fact, where the president is elected, including the United States. And I'm sorry, but the independent and solid constitutional monarchy that we have in the United Kingdom is exactly right. It means we can't be overthrown because of the stratas. it also means that we've got somebody who is straight down the line and not there so that they can win the next election. So I'm all for that. So I'm not terribly happy about what Harry has been doing. He's probably got an argument and a case. Don't know about the lady. Don't know much about her, to be quite honest with you, other than the rest of us. Hancock says he did the right thing on unlawful crony contracts. Well, he may have, but the fact is, cronyism is the one thing that I was glad when Brexit occurred, is that we got out of from the EU, because patronage in the EU, if you've ever worked in EU countries where you've had contact with EU organizations or actually working for EU organizations, you realize just why it's such a bad organization. Is most people are there because of whom they know or because of daddy, and they're actually getting on with the job is it's just silly. So I do not go along with patronage. And if Hancock says he had the right motives, that's fine, but follow the rules. You set the rules, follow them. You expect the rest of us to. BM's roadmap out of lockdown to include schools, socialising and sport. Yes, 2/3 of 65 to 69-year-olds vaccinated a week after rollout expanded. 2 boys aged 15 arrested after children kidnapped in stolen car. And regional tiers scrapped in 4-step plan out of lockdown. So regional tiers are going to go. We're all going to be treated the same. Well, there are lots of other things. Those are basically the sporting story is that rugby bosses want Prince William to take over from Harry as the royal patron, which means that I think he's already a patron of the Football Association, is he not? Because he turns up at as indeed the Queen did for many years, at the FA Cup final. So that would mean that he would turn up at Twickenham. That's interesting because his aunt, Princess Margaret, is his aunt or his great aunt, she turns up regularly because she's the patron of the Scottish Rugby Union. The Welsh Rugby Union, who turns up for that? Gosh, I'm not absolutely sure. But anyway, of the home countries, royalty has got a finger in most pies. Well, it's probably would be Charles, since he's Prince of Wales. Yeah, I suppose so. All right, those are the news headlines. I've done enough scribbling on this morning. I'm sorry that passwords have created a problem for us. It's 8:29. I think perhaps I'm going to spend a minute or two just reminding people of who we are, and hope that you'll forgive us and you'll rejoin us tomorrow when we'll undoubtedly be in much better shape. Hopefully because of events during today in which we can start to look forward to the lock-up, as I call it, from COVID, but also because perhaps we can start to see as a business a way forward because we've got now some objectives to go for. Anyway, this is yours. Go on, fire. Well, that's who we are. Incidentally, I just looking through one or two notes while that was playing, and one of the things that amused me was the traffic wardens actually ticketed the protection services jeeps, Land Rovers or whatever they are, Range Rovers, outside the hospital where Prince Philip is in at the moment. And as the article said, pretty damn brave traffic warden. And, traffic wardens, they people that you love to hate. And they've always got this, how they get it, I have no idea. They got this po face. It's they can hand out a ticket. Well, there's a party around them and they never smile. And are you a certain character or do you learn how to do that? Is that one of the skills? But, yes, all right. They're not our favorite people, but they do have to put up with a lot. And I can remember I was in, I think it was Pimlico in London, and a traffic warden was putting a ticket on a car, and two ladies appeared, and they actually beat him up. I mean, he took a severe beating from them, and for ladies, believe me, they were tough. I'm glad I wasn't on the end of that beating. So these chaps, even if they perhaps they are taught to be daring, it doesn't matter if it's Queen's car, you still put a ticket on it, and by golly, get on with it. So I was quite amused by that. And another one that wouldn't mean much to most people, I suppose, but the very well-known singer Rita Ora has returned to Kosovo for a few days. Now, I didn't know. I knew she was Albanian, but I didn't know that she was from Kosovo. And I spent 2.5 years living in Kosovo, of course. And Rita Ora, I suppose, wasn't as famous then because it's now 20 years ago, I suppose, that I was there. 18, anyway. So there she was in all her finery, going back, and I think it's always rather nice, particularly with small countries like that. And I have many, many friends there. Mohammed Hamitti is the former ambassador, Kosovo ambassador to the Court of St James, in other words, to London, and what a fine man he was. So often happens with patronage, and this is the worry: is that after his term, somebody else got the job, and the Kosovo ambassador has never been heard from again in London. It's totally useless, whoever he is. But you get a good one once in a while. And speaking of ambassadors, there were two more associated with Kosovo. Some of our ambassadors abroad, particularly in the smaller countries, are pretty awful people. I mean, some of them, our ambassadors, are just giants, and they get on in very difficult circumstances. But Rory O'Connell was ambassador in Kosovo up until about, I don't know, perhaps a year ago, and did a wonderful, wonderful job. He understood what the problems were. He wasn't afraid to speak out, and he was terrific. And in a different way, Reno Harnish III, who was the American ambassador while I was there, he and his wife did a terrific job too. The thing is, you have to understand that in trying hard to bring in some sort of institutions, that the leaders of these countries have been leaders for so long, is that their minds are closed to anything new. They won't try things. And Reno's wife started a ladies' dining club so they could just discuss various things. And she got top people to come and talk to them. And they laughed and they giggled, and they thought that they were being funny. And, ha, 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 look at these foreigners. And it's a pity because it was an opportunity for them to learn about what was happening outside their own country. And those people, some of them are still in charge and holding the country back. Great pity. It's a great pity. But there we are. Those are sort of ambassadors that I've known. And that's all because of Rita Ora. The Guinness Book of Records, somebody has broken a record for drinking a pint of gravy. It's fast. But the astonishing thing is there are 2,000 or 3,000 entries for the UK Guinness Book of Records. That was the count in 2020, despite all our problems in that year. And people tried all sorts of things at home to try and get into the Guinness Book of Records. Drinking gravy, one of them. I mean, I love gravy, but I can't imagine drinking a pint of gravy. And I can't imagine drinking a pint of gravy so fast. and I've got it down my gullet in sort of a minute or more or less. Let's accept the fact that our quirky nature as a nation is we're quirky and we love it, and that we haven't lost. Okay, well, I've rambled a lot this morning. You've had to put up with me. I'm sorry about that. But let's see if we can find something to keep us amused.
When you've missed the train, don't despair. Have a nice cup of coffee. And perhaps a mince pie. At the Runaway on Lewis Station. After that, why worry about the next train? The Runaway on Lewis Station. Relaxation beyond compare.
Just looking at some of the stats there, London, which of course suffered greatly during the COVID alert, the pandemic, the cases there have dropped 92%, and that's pretty dramatic. Now there are still some floating around. Don't be fooled; we still have to be careful. But that sort of drop certainly is encouraging, and I think that it would be great if we can now start to see a roadmap. So later on this morning, the PM will give a press conference in which he will lay out a new time scale, and hopefully this time it will be a map. Because what's happened in the past is on a Monday he said one thing, and on a Tuesday somebody else has said something else, and on a Wednesday he's readjusted his position. So I very much hope that we're going to see a great difference. But will we see a difference in our society? That I don't know. And I must say that I would prefer to think that we will be cautious in the way that we return to our socializing, and the way that the institutions look at what's happened. I think that there's got to be huge reform in governance. There's got to be huge reform in the banking system, particularly the retail banking system. International banking will always be the biggest casino in the world, I suspect. But retail banking, we need to take a second look at. And now it's 8:43, 2 more minutes before 8:45, and then I'll be been going for an hour. At least we met our commitment, even if we bored the pants off you this morning. But nonetheless, perhaps there are one or two little things that we've said that are nuggets of wisdom. Tomorrow, Paul Fowle will be back with me, and later in the week, hopefully, we will have Robert MacDonald. Fascinating stories about not only training and how he sees training as part of or should be part of the national setup, but also some reminiscences about his days in South America, where he and I were at school together. I went to Canada, I went to North America, he went to South America. And interesting times we both had. And sometimes perhaps it's not a bad thing for us to let you know some of our experiences. Maybe they help, maybe they don't. Anyway, tomorrow we will be back bang on time and with the proper stuff. This morning was Monday, has been a bad day after a bad weekend. And hopefully we will start to see from 9 o'clock this morning, when I get back into the office, we'll start to see some improvement in where we're going and what we're doing and how we can start, along with the rest of the country, to prosper. Because Mirador is a small to medium enterprise. It is the small to medium enterprise that is the backbone of commerce in this country, backbone of the economy. Yes, you can talk about financial services and the huge places in the city of London, and one wonders what changes we're going to see there. But if there is a new spirit and a new mood in the country after the PM's press conference this morning, then I hope that Mirador will be part of it, and that you will embrace us and we will embrace you, and we can start taking this country forward again in a new and, if you like, reformed way. Get rid of the bad things, which we discovered so many during the lockdown. Get rid of those. Let's reform. Reform is often a word that politicians and civil servants hate, but reform is absolutely essential. We cannot go on with some of the things operating the way that they have, because we make sure that we take privileges away from certain segments of our society. And the other thing that worries me, and I said so on Friday, is was there or is there a concerted effort to have used COVID to muzzle the media, and in some cases with tiny little operations like us actually close us down? I hope not. I hope not. But there is a sneaking suspicion there. And I think that those sort of questions can be asked of politicians in the future, as long as they've got a future. Right? There we go. 8:46. Time now really to leave. And I'm very pleased that I could be with you this morning, even though it was a huge false start. So this is who we are until tomorrow. Well, actually, no, we may pop in later in the day, because now we're few on people and few on facilities. We are using the opportunity to pop in and out during the day. And if you have Facebook, it'll pop up and say that we're live, which means that you can either avoid us or you can tap into us. But so until later, let's say, toodle pip.